Hello, everyone. This is Tom Painter. Thank you so much for joining with us. I'm going to give you an overview of Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is a wonderful book. It's one of the books that you have access to in your library. I am so excited to be able to talk to you about this because this is one of the classics. This is one of the classics that you need to learn to be able to understand what we do. And when you go to successandmoneyfoundation.org and when you sign in and get your free membership, simply go to the courses section. When you go to the courses section, pull it down to the free books and downloads. We have all kinds of wonderful books and downloads there. And then when you click on the free books and downloads, then simply click on the free books. And then after that, there's all kinds of wonderful books on there, including the Academy for Creative Enterprises, the new book by Stephen Gibson. This is the one we're going to talk about today, which is Think or Grow Rich and Acres of Diamonds. This is a classic book. And the beautiful thing about this is that Robert Allen has read the whole book and you have access to all of that. So you can literally have Robert Allen teach you and go through the whole Think and Grow Rich book. But as we talk about Think and Grow Rich, it is a famous book. And I want to just give you a brief overview of what's in that book and encourage you and get you excited to be able to go in and start going through that product. Now, Think and Grow Rich was 25 years in the making. And there's been multiple times when this book has been published and put out there, but it was by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill is an author, but it took him 25 years to write this book. And it talks about how many books are written every year. There's thousands and thousands of books written every year, but there's very few of those that become bestsellers. And there's very few of those that become a national treasure in that they are out there and stick around for generations of time. So when you go into the book, this is kind of a summary of the things that are in there. But one of the first questions they ask is, what do you want? Is it money? Is it fame? Is it power? Is it contentment, personality, peace of mind, or happiness? Well, I would say that we want to do all of these things. We want to have all of these things in a percentage and to be able to make a difference out into the world. Now, when we get into the preface, it talks a little bit about that the book was the experience of over 500 men that were studied by Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was famous as being one of the richest men in the world. His wealth would probably dwarf the wealth of people today. And when he had the chance, he sold U.S. Steel and took that money. And one of the big charity things is he did libraries. So the modern day libraries around the world are a direct result of Andrew Carnegie, but he took under his wing Napoleon Hill and started teaching Napoleon Hill, but had him get experience and exposure to over 500 wealthy individuals that he could study. What were their thoughts? What were their ideas? What were their plans? How did they do it? And he's got some great comments in there, but it's, what to do and how to do it. Now, when we talk about the preface here, again, this was a wonderful program where he studied successful people for decades. And he had a chance when he was very young to work with Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie threw out this really kind of crazy question to him about if he would like to work with him and make a huge difference in millions and millions of people's lives. And it took him 20 years. You're going to spend 20 years or more preparing to take it to the world. And that was a deal that Andrew Carnegie made with him, and he kept that promise. So as you talk about these things, Carnegie's secrets, how did you go from nothing to being the wealthiest man in the world? And what were the ideas that did that? And he goes into that in great detail. So I'm going to take you through some of these things into this book. But the introduction is the man who thought his way into partnership with Thomas Edison. So you go back, this book was written in the early 1900s. And, it's survived the test of time. And there's some great nuggets in here. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. You got to think it first before you can do it. And then you need really a burning desire to get it done. You want to have a better life for you and for others. You got to find out what your why is. We talk about desire, which is one of the first steps towards riches, and it's the starting point. So there's a couple things that I'm not going to go into these because you have the chance to go in and go through these for yourself in the whole book and listen to the whole thing. But there's a couple steps. So fixing your mind the exact amount of money that you want. You know, your mind is going to work for you 24 hours a day. Your subconscious mind is going to work for you 24 hours a day. And your goal is to give it the right things to work on. So we want you to fix the exact amount of money that you want to make. And we don't want it to be general. We want it to be a number. And then how are you going to do that? What is your intent? Third, establish a date. Now, there's no such thing as an unrealistic goal, only an unrealistic time frame. And so money's a game and games are fun. So if we don't get it in the second quarter, we're going to keep working until we get it in the third quarter or the fourth quarter or the fifth or sixth quarter. But our goal is to put a date on it so we can work towards that. You need to create a definite plan for carrying this out. And then the goal is to write it down clearly that, you know, they say that you can solve any problem, but half of the problem is being able to define what that problem is. So if you can write clearly in a statement of what your intent is, and give it a time frame, give it some ideas of what you've got to do, then you are well on your way of being able to accomplish that. And again, you do that and then you learn from it and you do it again. There's no finish line, but we want to enjoy the game. Games are fun. Money's a game and games are fun. Not so much that we're going to have a whole bunch of money and then we're going to be happy about it. We're going to be happy along the way because there's no finish line. Now, you might sit on the sideline and hang out for a while and then go get back in the game and stuff like that. But really, that's what we're looking for. We want to have the journey. The journey is the game. Have fun with the journey. Faith. Faith is another chapter we're talking about. And here it's visualization and belief in attaining. There's no limitations to the mind except those that we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. So let's think about that. Poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. Autosuggestion, which is another piece, which is how does your mind get influenced? How does your subconscious mind get influenced? The famous actor and martial arts person, Bruce Lee, said, only talk to your mind in positive. Your mind doesn't know and can't distinguish if you're just kidding. So don't feed your mind bad stuff. Feed your mind great stuff. It's like a computer. They used to say garbage in, garbage out. Good things in, good things out, just like nutrition and anything else. So you want to feed this machine because your mind is a machine. And again, you know, no thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. Number 5 is specialized knowledge. So this is personal experiences or observations. Now there's 2 kinds of knowledge. One is a general knowledge, and the other one is a specialized knowledge. There's a joke that Robert Allen talks about, and he says that there's a machine in a factory that breaks down. And they hire a person to come in and fix that machine. The gentleman walks in, he looks at the machine, looks it over for a few minutes, then he pulls out a hammer, goes around the corner, taps twice, and the machine starts up again. And he hands the guy a bill for $300. And the guy says, that's crazy. You were just in here for just a few minutes and you just tapped twice. You know, that doesn't make sense. Can you give me an itemized bill? So he pulls out the invoice and he gives him a new itemized bill. It said, tapping with hammer, $1. Knowing where to tap, $299. So he had a specialized knowledge, and it took him decades to be able to learn that in many ways. You know, they talk about taking up to 10,000 hours to be an expert in something. Well, you know what? If you spent 20 hours on something, you would know more than 95% of the people in the world. If you just spend 20 hours on one task or one thing, like your small business or something else, you will know and perform better than 95% of those people. Now they say, 10,000 is if you want to be like the 1/10 of 1%. But there's two kinds of knowledge. One is just general. And one of the problems you get into when you go into colleges and schools and things like, they're teaching you a lot of stuff that's just general that you don't really need to know. What you need to know is where to tap with that hammer. And the more specialized that you can get, the bigger problems that you can solve, the more money you can make. My next door neighbor is a neurosurgeon. He's done 2 back surgeries on me. And he's a wonderful man, but he makes more money than a regular doctor, who makes more money than the nurse, who makes more money than the receptionist. Why? Because he solves bigger problems. He has a specialized knowledge on how to fix these problems. So that is one of the pieces that we want to talk about. Number 6 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. And the imagination is literally the workshop where fashions, all plans are created by man. The impulse, the desire are given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. It's been said that a man can achieve anything that he can conceive. Number 7 is organized planning. Okay, this is organized planning. You've got to figure out where you're going to go, create a simple plan, and then be able to go out and execute that plan. Okay, now when you add that, you add desire with that, imagination, and a plan. You talk about plans and you talk about simplicity. The real goal for your business is to simplify. It's not to make it more complicated. The real success is the people who can simplify something, simplify, and then multiply. All of you have been to a McDonald's. McDonald's was started by 2 brothers. And those 2 brothers created a system, but they had all kinds of reiterations of it until they finally figured out what was working. And because a lot of these drive-ins were attracting the wrong people, they weren't profitable, it was expensive to do. And then one of the brothers did some analysis and found out that the vast majority of products that were being sold was hamburgers, fries, drinks, and shakes. 87% of their business was that. And they started thinking, well, why are we offering these other items? Chicken, biscuits, tamales, stuff like that. Why are we offering any of these other things? If you want chicken, go someplace else. We don't do chicken. We just do hamburgers. And they got rid of the vast majority of other things that didn't make them money. They got rid of the things that really slowed them down. Car hops, having all these people, dishes, forks, knives, and things like that. They went to disposable. And then they really cleaned up the place and they created a system, and they were wonderful at creating that system. The thing that they didn't do, though, is they didn't have the ability to really replicate it. They loved what they were doing. They were great mechanics. They loved running that business, and that business was fun for them, but they didn't know how or have the desire really to duplicate it and take it around the world. Then you get somebody like Ray Kroc, who is not that creative. If you're, sometimes people are too smart. We don't want to be that smart. We want to be just dumb enough to be rich. Now, it was a wonderful book that's out there by Mr. Barnett. Wonderful book. And so one of the things, you got to be dumb enough to be rich. If you're too smart, you'll figure out how it won't work, and you'll spend all this time looking at iterations. We want to simplify and then multiply, simplify and multiply. That's the key to where we're going. Now, there are major attributions of leadership, and there's important factors for that. And I'm just going to kind of go through these kind of quickly, but unwavering courage, self-control, a key sense of justice, a definiteness of decision. Got to make that decision and then learn from that decision. Definiteness of plans. You create a plan and then you work your plan. The habit of doing more than paid for. We talk about, if you want to make more money, you need to Add more value. My friend Tony Robbins taught me that. He says, add more value than anyone else, and then people will pay you more. In your job, add more value. Don't figure out how to do the least amount of work for your paycheck. Figure out how to do extra value. Because when the economy gets rocky and employers decide who they want to keep, they keep the ones that add the most value for whatever price they're paying. And I've had major big companies where the economy's turned on us and we had to right size the company and we had to let a lot of people go and change our plans. But the people I kept, even though they might have been more expensive than others, were the ones that added the greatest value and made that so that we made more money. So your key is to do more and to solve bigger problems and add more value. Personality, your job is to jump in as a leader. And most people, a great leader is not somebody that yells from the sideline and is just a jerk. A great leader is somebody that people want to follow. That's why they're a leader. And so a good personality, a strong personality, a sense of where you're going to go is kind of vital. Sympathy and understanding. You want people to be able to listen to their employees and their group that they're working with. But at the same time, you want to have them know where they're going to go. So sympathy and understanding, mastery of detail. So many times, the real successful people have the ability to see the detail, but they really understand how to simplify and then multiply. Willingness to assume full responsibility. Hey, when something goes wrong, a great leader always starts with, hey, I screwed up. I screwed up. I made a mistake. Now, if something goes wrong and you're the leader, do you just go blame somebody that this guy screwed up? Or do you figure out why it screwed up, fix the system so it doesn't screw up in the future, and then as a team, you go out there and find a way to be able to fix it. Okay. So the last thing is that the leaders, really good leaders, are leading. They're not yelling from the sideline, and people will follow them and they'll work together to solve that problem. Cooperation. This is huge. The greatest leaders cooperate with other people, get their input. I know that some of the successful leaders that have a big team will get everybody's opinion. They'll come in with their own opinion, but they'll get everybody else's opinion, and then they will create a plan together that everybody buys into. Now they have congruity and they can go make it work. Now, there's all kinds of reasons for failure of leadership. The inability to organize details. This is one of them. Unwillingness to be humble and be part of the team. Expectations of pay for what they know instead of what they do. The people who make the most money solve the biggest problems. They may know more, but did they solve the problem? The goal, and many times as you're building your businesses, you don't know how to solve the problem. One of the greatest things that you can do is to find the right people, get them together that have that knowledge how to fix that, and then get out of their way, and then go find the next problem. That's what I've done over my whole history of businesses. I look for what is the biggest problem? Who can I find to help me fix that problem? I might be able to fix it on my own, but really, who can I find to help me fix that? And when you look in the mirror, that's the first guy to fix stuff. And then you get the right people together, you create systems, and then you get out of their way and let them run with those systems. Okay. That's kind of crucial that you do that. So expectations for not what you know, but what you do. That's crucial. Competition. A lot of people are worried about competitions. Well, life's a game and games are fun. And it's about the game, not the scoreboard. Right? It's about the game and not the scoreboard. So we want to have fun and work with people and have a good time doing it. That's kind of crucial to where we're headed with this. Selfishness. The great leaders and the successful people are not the ones that are selfish. You might see on TV where it's got, this leader that took advantage of his group and 99.9% of the real successful leaders are the ones that work with a team and make a huge difference in everybody's life. On TV, they're selling problems. They're selling the car wreck. And you might think that all great leaders, all rich people are jerks. Well, they're not. As you study successful people, the one thing that I've really learned is that those very successful people are very giving, very, very giving. Warren Buffett's given away all of his Berkshire Hathaway stock. 99% of his wealth is being given away. We're giving away our Berkshire Hathaway stock to help you get up and go. That's kind of crucial. Bill Gates created the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's not selfish. He wants to make a difference in people's lives. Oprah has the Oprah Network. Tony Robbins has the Anthony Robbins Foundation. My wife and I followed those people, and 8 years ago, we created our foundation. And then 4 years ago, I pretty much sold off my businesses and put my real estate with partners so I could spend full time at the foundation. So the more you give, the more you get. Okay, let's go to the next one. Intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. That's pretty self-explanatory. Disloyalty is not we don't want that. We want loyalty. Authority. Entitled. Sometimes people get a title and they go push people around. The key is to get cooperation. The key is to work together as a team. There's the QQS that they talk about, which is your goal is to have quality, quantity, and service. Now, number 8 is decision, the mastery of procrastination. Is it possible that procrastination is a good thing? Yeah, it is. Because so many times people get a list of stuff they need to do and they procrastinate the big stuff, the hard stuff. I have a thing Robert Allen taught me. He says, fear things first. In the morning, we're going to take on our biggest fear. We're going to go figure out how to fix it. And we're going to procrastinate the things that don't make us any and that don't make us money. A lot of times people go do the things that are easy and fun, but not that need to be done. So you need to procrastinate the things that aren't getting you closer to your goals or making a difference. And sometimes you need to do the feared things first. And remember, life's a game and games are fun. You do it once, you learn how to do it. Then, of course, it's not very hard the next time. Okay, persistence. The ability to be persistent. There's been a study that showed that one of the greatest assets of successful people was not education, it was not knowledge, it was grit, it was persistence. When you study Steve Jobs said that to be successful, you have to be gritty, you have to be persistent, you have to do something for a long time to figure it out. Because a sane person would quit because it's hard. And because it's hard, that's what makes it great. Right now, many of you are starting investment accounts. You're starting small businesses. You're starting to improve real estate. You're making more money. You're putting money aside. You're improving your long-term finances. And it's going to take a while to do that. This is not get rich quick. Usually if it's get rich quick, it's lose real quick as well, because your roots do not have the ability to go down deep. Your money trees aren't stable. Your real estate was a flash in the pan. Our goal is to build a machine that will produce income. We call it a money machine. We want to roll out the dough, get a cookie cutter, and then just bang, 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 and get a whole bunch of cookies that are duplicated, simplify, and then figure out how to be able to sell them. But it's about persistence, and it's about being gritty. That is one of the greatest things that you can have. It's not about knowledge. It's not about any of this stuff. It's about persistence. And the people that are persistent, that play the game and they know that there's really not an end point. They might change and play a different game, but the journey is the game. So games are fun, and let's have some fun doing that. And so persistence is a huge piece of that. Power of the mastermind. This is kind of a big one. There's a study that shows that your net worth is the average of your 10 friends that you hang out with. So if you were to make a list of the 10 people you hang out with, and then look at how much money they have or their businesses or whatever it is, you're probably right in the middle of that. So if you want to do better, find some new friends, find some new people to hang out with. I had an experience when I was in high school and I was on the tennis team. And I got a chance to play a kid that was about as good as me. And, there was a pro set, which means, 8 games. And we went back and forth and I just barely beat him. And because we're about average together, and I won and I got to advance to the next round. Well, I played a guy that was like number 4 or 5 in the nation for our age group. He was awesome. And it was the best game I've ever played my whole life. Now, I did not win one game. He beat me 6-0. I didn't win one game, but it was the best game in my whole life that I've ever played because I played with somebody better. And so that's what you want to do, is you want to hang out with people that are better, because that will rise you up to it. You want to play with people that are better and be part of that group. That's kind of crucial of what we're doing. So power of the mastermind, find people that you can hang out with and be successful and help them be successful. Zig Ziglar said it best. The only way you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. And here's a quote: anybody can wish for riches, and most people do, but only a few know that a definite plan plus a burning desire, that's grit, for wealth are the ones dependable means of accumulating wealth. So that's the key right there. Number 11 is a little bit weird. Mystery of sex mutation is basically another word for use as passion, using passion to get things done. Genius is developed through the sixth sense. There's 4 pieces to that, which is an infinite intelligence. The subconscious mind, your mind is working 24/7, every day, all the time. And what you have to do is you have to feed your mind with the right things so it can work on them. Instead of avoiding a problem, you see a problem, how am I going to avoid this problem? I don't think I can fix this problem. You just told your mind, let's run away from that problem. Instead, you say to your mind, hey, here's a problem. This is a challenge. Challenges are fun. Challenges are a game, and games are fun. So why don't you work on this for a while? Let's see if we can come up with some solutions to fix that. And so that's why that's so important. And sometimes the mind of others, though, the real goal is to see it from another person's point of view. And if you can do that, you'll have another way to be able to make this all work. Okay, subconscious mind. This is really crucial. Your subconscious mind doesn't stop. It is 24/7. When I first got married, my wife said that she sat up in bed and looked at me and says, what the heck are you thinking? Because my mind just wouldn't stop. And so I had to learn how to shut my mind off and put it in the subconscious. So when I go to bed at night, I say, you know what, I'm going to let my subconscious work on this overnight. Tomorrow morning, the idea will come to me and I'll have it figured out then. And I don't worry about it. I don't think about it overnight. I say just, okay, this is what the problem is. This is the challenge. Subconscious mind, go figure it out. You got, 6-8 hours that I sleep, and come back and tell me what your thoughts are. And so the subconscious mind is so important that it works day and night. It works day and night, and it's a huge piece. So you got to feed it the right information. You feed it the right information, it will come out with the right answers. Now, there's a lot of negativity, and there's things that you want that are negative emotions, and there's positive emotions. Things that we want to avoid is fear. Turn it into a game. We're not curing cancer here. We are having a game. Jealousy. We're not jealous of other people. What we are is supportive. Be happy for them. Be happy for them. Hatred doesn't work. Hatred is so negative. Revenge. They say that the greatest way to have revenge is massive success. So if somebody's done you wrong, serving up and hurting them probably isn't the answer. The answer is to go be successful with something else. Greed. Successful people are not greedy, meaning that they don't take from people. What they do is they solve problems and they give back. That's really what they do. They solve bigger problems and give back. And as they do that, people want to be part of what they're doing, and they just buy more and more of that product. Superstition, anger. We're not looking at anger. What we're looking for is the positive emotions of desire. Faith, faith can move mountains. Well, it moves mountains if you have a big shovel. And so go get a big shovel. The emotions of love, emotions of sex, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. You need to have all those things. And remember, that's all part of your game. And if you're behind on the scoreboard, that's okay. The goal is to have fun in the game. The brain. Let's talk about the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station for thought. Your brain sends out a vibration, and that's what picks up other people's vibration. It can be words, it can be other things, but it's really, and in here they talk about Alexander Graham Bell, who was the one who really created the telephone. And, his whole piece is that, your brain is kind of like a radio station, and it broadcasts to other people, and it receives vibrations from other people that are out there. The sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom, sixth sense. Have you ever had that ahas or hunches or flashes or inspiration? That's your sixth sense. And so I know a lot of people really rely on that sixth sense. They rely on that. Oprah Winfrey is a big part of that. She studies it out. She learns all about it. And then she goes into her inner self, which is really kind of the sixth sense, and decides if that's appropriate. Robert Allen, big on sixth sense, figuring out where he wants to go and how to make it work, and then relying on that sixth sense and subconscious mind to help take over. Ghosts of fear. This is kind of the last one. How do you out with these ghosts of fear? And, fear is real. Fear is real. But the real successful people, they might be afraid, but they do it anyway, because part of the game is to have some fun, and it might be fearful to do that. And there's six basic fears that people have. And what we want to do is we want to figure out how to overcome these fears. And, sometimes these fears can be a great motivator to get you going. They can be a positive because you're afraid of having poverty. You're afraid of not being able to make ends meet. You're afraid of not being able to have enough money to take care of your kids. I told you my story about how I had a heart attack when I was 34 years of age, and I had two beautiful little children. And as they were wheeling me into the operating room, I looked over at my wife. I was on the gurney. They were literally pushing me into the operating room. And I wondered if I was coming back. And if I didn't come back, who's going to take care of these two, especially these children? So that was, I had a fear that if something happened to me, that who's going to take care of these little kids? Because they're going to need help their whole life. I don't think the government's going to do it. I don't want to depend on the government. I want to be able to take care of them. So I got some great advice from my mom and dad. I got great advice from Robert Allen. And he basically says, go make enough money that you can put your children in whatever program you want, and that you can create streams of income that will take care of them when you're gone. Because all of us are going to check out sometime. Now, I've been lucky. I've celebrated almost 30 years since that heart attack happened. But it really changed my world. And so that was a fear. That was a huge fear I had. And I took that fear and I says, okay, I'm going to use that for positive. And so I took the fear of it and I turned it into a game, and I went out and made it happen. So the fear of poverty, criticism, health, if you're afraid of these things, then figure out how to change the game. Change the game. The loss of someone, or old age or death. Well, we're not getting out of old age or death. I got to tell you just a funny story. I was talking to a young guy that was working for me. He was 23, 6'2", good looking guy named Jake, just married, beautiful little wife. And I said, lots of energy. And I said, Jake, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million for 10 years of your life. I'll write you a check right now for $1 million. What I want is I want to feel as good as you do. I want to have as much energy as you have right now. And he thought about it for a second. He goes, you know what? I'll take that deal. But you can have them when I'm 80. So that wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. All of us are going to get older. All of us are going to pass away. There's no way of getting out of that. But the goal is to be able to make a difference while you're here. Make a difference while you're here on this earth. And so I want to encourage you to go through that product. That whole product has been recorded by Robert Allen. Think and Grow Rich is a wonderful book. It goes into great detail, and pull out that book. And in addition to that, there's another one called Acres of Diamonds, which is another great one that I highly recommend that you get into. So just remember to go out and make a difference, make it happen. And every life is precious. Everybody, thanks for watching. Try to get into our calls that we do on a weekly basis, our live calls, because we give out a lot of money. We're giving out a lot of money. We're giving out a lot of Buffett bucks and Berkshire Hathaway stock, and we're going to help you get started. Thanks for watching, everybody.